Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we're putting together the dampers for the Tamiya Comical Grasshopper. They're quick and simple to put together, but for best results you do need to take some care. Right, we're into bag C, where we have the silicone oil and the springs, and another bag full of all sorts of goodies which need to be tipped into a pot for easy access. Okay, step 12, bottom seal and shaft. We're going to more or less just build one in this video and finish the other ones off camera, since other than the couple of spaces for the rear, all four are exactly the same. Okay, we're going to need 8 black O-rings, 4 damper shafts, and then for plastic we're going to need for each damper a W1 bottom cap, W3 the body, a V1 rod end, and for the rear too a V3 spacer. If you follow the manual, you're going to end up with some working dampers, but there's another method that helps protect the O-ring during assembly. Rather than pack the bottom of the body with the O-rings and fit the bottom cap, then push the thread on the shaft through, we'll assemble the O-rings onto the shaft before pressing them in. We want one of the shafts dropped into the body so the threads poke out the bottom. Then, while holding the shaft, we can use some of the oil to lubricate the threads. Next, we need to slide 2 O-rings over and up the shaft. For extra safety, add a little bit more oil as you go. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to make a bit of a mess, but you're less likely to damage the inside of the O-rings than if you go in dry. Make sure the O-rings are all nice and oily, then offer up the bottom cap and thread it on. It needs to be bottomed out, but only as tight as you can go by hand. There's no need to attack it with a pair of pliers. You should find the shaft moves up and down in the seal fairly smoothly. Now it might catch a little bit, but that should just be the piston in the body that hasn't got any oil yet. Next is the rod end that needs to get threaded onto the threads. We're going to need to grip the rod to stop it from turning. Now it's absolutely critical that we don't damage the surface. Any scratches or marks are going to wear the O-rings, causing a leak. You can get a proper tool made of a very soft metal or soft inserts, but we're going to use some pliers with some cardboard to protect the shaft. You still need to be careful of course, but the card will add just enough protection. For the front 2 dampers it's just the rod end that goes on, but don't forget 2 of them need the V3 spacers adding too for the rear dampers. It just slides over the shaft before you fit the rod end. Complete all 4, 2 front and 2 rear, and we can move on to the fun bit. Step 13, which is a little unfortunate, filling the dampers. Tamiya's guide for filling is pretty good, so we're going to be following it more or less. For parts we need 4 oil seals or bladders, and 4 top caps, the W2s. We're going to need some paper towel to mop up the excess, and if you're a first timer I'd recommend some plastic sheet or a bowl to catch the overspill. If you're a little bit overzealous it can get a bit messy. Right, first we need to make sure the piston is all the way at the bottom of the body. Then fill it with oil so the level is a millimetre or so from the top edge. Next we gently move the piston up and down without breaking the surface of the oil to release any trapped air. You should see some plumes of air escape from under the piston and float to the top. Now this Tamiya oil is fairly thin, so the bubbles float up pretty quickly. If you use a thicker oil, you might find you need to stand the dampers up for half an hour or so to let all the air escape to the top. Alright, now we can top up the level, again a millimetre or so from the top. There's no point in going all the way up, as the bladder is going to displace the extra oil anyway. Which brings us to the messy bit. We need to pop the bladder into the top of the body so the cup shape goes down into the oil. We want to see a small but healthy amount of oil seep out as it settles into place. If no oil comes out, there's a fair chance you've not quite got enough oil in the body. Wipe off any excess and thread on the top cap. Just like the bottom, we need to make sure it's bottomed out and done up by hand. You should find the shaft moves in and out super smoothly with no catching or grinding. If you built them carefully and they do feel a bit rough, there's a good chance you've still got a little bit of air in the oil. Just pop the top off and have another go at filling them up. Step 14, the springs. Okay, we're going to need 4 springs, 4 V5 spring retainers, and 4 V6 medium preload spacers. For the front, all we do is slide a spring over the body, pull the spring up and insert the retainer at the bottom and slide it over the rod end. Then at the top we pull the spring down and we clip in a preload spacer. The rears are exactly the same, except you've got the spacer on the shaft to make sure you get up and out the way when you fit the retainer. It's worth noting the stock springs are really quite soft, great for bombing around a car park or short grass, but if you're going to go off some ramps you might find the buggy bottoms out rather hard. Having a play with the thicker preload spacers might help. Stiffer springs might be better still, but adding a thick spacer might just do the trick. Step 15. Fitting the dampers. Well, all we need to do is clip the dampers onto the ball ends that we fitted to the chassis when we put it together. Just like with the steering, we need to use some pliers to clip them on. 2 at the front and 2 at the back. Now this is going to be your last chance to easily fix any suspension niggles. Make sure the arms move up and down smoothly and don't stick or catch. If there's a problem, have a look for bits of plastic sticking out where there shouldn't be any. And that's bag C complete. It's a bit short, but I think it's good to have it in a separate video so it's easy to find with a search. Next time we have the chassis, wheels and tyres, basically everything to make it a roller. Right, so that's it for this week. As always, thanks for watching. Like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment if there's something on your mind. Bye guys.